Hi, I'm Kristen Fitch with Ziggity Zoom, and we're here today to tell you a little bit about Junior Achievements Be a Technology Entrepreneur. And today we're going to be covering Lesson 2, What's My Business, with Dave Richards with Concursive Corporation. So Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit about your company and your entrepreneurial experience?
We're a software company. We have one, strategic investor, a big company called Intel. But we do software that companies use to kind of connect people. It's in the social, mobile, collaborative space.
Right.
So that's what we do.
So let's really dive into this lesson. So
Okay.
What's my business? So obviously the kids going through this program are trying to decide what's the product or service that they want to kind of base their whole business concept on and work on towards a business plan. So what advice might you have for new entrepreneurs starting out?
Great. So I would ask the question that when we as a tech company go to try to raise capital, and you go to a sophisticated investor, the number one question they will almost always ask you is, what's the problem you're solving? Mm-hmm. What's the need? So you should be trying to solve a problem that is clear and apparent and somewhat obvious. And if you can do that, you can start a company around it. And whether that company is a restaurant, or whether that company is a software company, or a shoe company, there's usually a problem or a need in the marketplace, and then you define your product and company to solve it. So that's what I would say. It's the number one thing is, what's the need?
When someone's considering maybe starting a technology business, there's obviously going to be different obstacles, or maybe the person doesn't have experience in the technology sector. So how would you recommend that they move forward with trying to research if the idea or service is viable?
The good news is research today is easy. You got this thing called the internet. It's free, it's open, it's easy, everyone knows how to use it.
Right.
And you can get answers to the question of, does anybody care about what I'm trying to do? Cheap, fast. You can use polling software. You can create a little poll for free on some little software system.
Right.
Send it to your 10 friends and ask them to send it to 20 other friends. And you can get very, very quick feedback on whether the idea is totally out in left field and makes no sense, or whether it does make some sense. So that's just kind of from the research side. It's actually not that different now to create a product. I mean, there's so much better ways than 20 years ago. If you were going to create a software product, a technology product, like in our case, you had to have some money. It was expensive to build the product. Now, if you're clever and smart, there's so many pieces that are already built.
Right.
So many cases, first generations of products are assembled from existing things quickly, cheaply, and they're built by kids that are 16-year-olds in a garage, or they're people that have full-time jobs and they're 30 and they're on their part-time job, they're writing code. So you can assemble stuff quickly to get it out there and try, and you're not mortgaging your house. And there's people that learn how to get code written overseas. And there's all sorts of ways to get an idea written by people that are in India or Bangalore or wherever they are.
Right. So another thing that I think comes up often with people that are considering starting a technology business is, I want to create the next Facebook, right? The next social site. So how do the students consider what is a good and unique idea? So like you said, where there's still a need, but they're obviously excited by some of the past examples. So how do you maybe steer them towards picking something that's a little bit unique, which we'll obviously get to in a later lesson, but any ideas there?
Yeah, so a couple thoughts. I think the Googles, the Facebooks, they've created huge value. And they're wonderful companies and they do great stuff. They've done a disservice in some ways because everyone's trying to find the next Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, or whatever it is. And the reality is, if you spend your career trying to do that and set out to do that, you're probably going to fail. The risk profile there is so bad. Better, in my humble opinion, to find something that you know pretty well, a market you know pretty well. If you happen to be, it's in shoes, we probably know shoes well, and you can understand where there's opportunity, you can speak the language, and you can very likely find some niche of a problem using technology to solve on that area that you know very well. It's really hard and I'd say almost impossible, to go into a space that you don't know well, a market, an area, a product that you don't know well, to try to create a revolutionary product. There's so many people like you that know that space and are trying to do the same thing. So start with what you know, start with where your passion is, start with where you have a native network of people that you can trust, that you can rely on. If you start there, you can find some way to get started and make money and kind of advance your business.
What do you think the benefits are of a high-tech career or deciding to start a business in the high-tech industry?
The benefit is a number of things. First is, if you're generally in technology, it gives you a lot of places that you can go. So most software or content creation or whatever allows you to go into a bunch of different spaces. So you can start someplace, and then you can slowly migrate and move into a different space. So there's a flexibility that technology allows you to do. The question of, do you want to do that? Is it right for you? Is a slightly different question. I mean, that's a question of, and in my case, I didn't go start my own technology business till I was in my maybe 40s, early 40s. Before that, I'd been in technology, but I had worked for people.
Right.
So I'm a big proponent of trying to get the experience on someone else's nickel. You get trained, it's lower risk, you learn from people that have come before you, and then you go out on your own when you've built a little bit of a network, you've got some experience, you know where the potholes are. So I'm a big believer, because we've done it, to kind of be off on our own, but I'm really glad I didn't try doing that when I was 30, no less when I was 20. So try to be an intrapreneur, maybe, and work for a company and act like an entrepreneur for the company you work with. Whatever you're doing, you should act the same way, because that brings value to your employer, and that is a great training ground for starting your own.
Great. Well, do you have anything else to add before we hope to see them in January?
Nothing more to add, other than technology careers are wonderful ways to make a career, a life, have fun, meet people, and join the Shark Tank soon.